You know all that history, you'd come to the conclusion that American slavery was a much milder form of slavery than what was typically practiced. Let's celebrate how great America is being made again and was in her founding. I think we can all agree on that. So I responded, Bob is calling me a radical communist for researching American history at the Library of Congress. Says I'm deceiving people, it's dividing the country. And I want to be really clear about what's happening here. I'm studying history in a way that does not automatically conclude that America is perfect. And to Bob, that feels dangerous. Hi, I'm Danielle Romero. Thank you so much for being with me here on my channel where we talk about American identity and family stories. And before we jump back into this video, please join me over at Patreon for behind the scenes stuff. We chat, I upload pictures. I just love connecting with you on there. It's patreon.com/NYTN. You can send me a coffee. Thank you so much for everyone who has been sending me coffees. Literally, I have one right here. And when I'm researching, recording, I drink so much coffee. It's my vice. But anyway, I digress. Let's jump back over. I want to respond to a comment that I got that is, to me, so absurd. It is so absurd that I was laughing so loudly reading it that my 11-year-old came running into the office. Like, Mom, what's so funny? I want to tell you about this comment. And I know that people say, don't feed the trolls. I don't think this is a troll. That's why I'm responding. I want to tell you about a comment from someone that goes by the name of Bob. Bob loves America so much that he thinks I shouldn't study it too carefully. I love America so much that I can't stop studying it. And apparently we have a real disagreement. So let's talk about what this means. This is bad. He was responding to a video where, ironically, I was talking about my top 9 worst comments. And I think he was responding to one of the comments where someone told me that studying the history of my enslaved ancestors was like giving me a slave mindset or something. And so in that video, though, I talk about this a lot. I'm not a liberal. I'm not a Republican. I'm not anything. I want the truth, and I don't think we're getting it from either side, okay? So his comment to that was, when she says she's not a liberal, she means she's a radical communist. Okay. So I just responded to him, just, LOL, nope. I'm a Christian. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I homeschool. I make homemade bread every morning for my kids. I'm like very traditional in a lot of ways. So let's get in here. So now we get to the meat of why he's so angry at me. He's lashing out at me as a person. He said, there's nothing Christian about the narrative you are using. Emotionalizing history is wrong. Telling part of it to create a false picture is deceptive. We'll get to all this, don't worry. The bottom line is that the West, namely England and America, fought and died to end slavery worldwide, and American slavery never involved the literal cutting off of, I'm not going to say it, I'll put it on the screen, to create eunuchs to protect sultan harems. I mean, we are going over here. Okay. If you know all that history, you'd come to the conclusion that American slavery was a much milder form of slavery than what was typically practiced. Let's celebrate how great America is being made again and was in her founding. I think we can all agree on that. So I responded, and I said, I love being an American. And I say so often, I do. I love being an American. And I said to him, your argument, Bob, is precisely what divides this country. Calling me a radical communist, which what he's trying to do is, he's trying to just ad hominem, right? He's attacking me as a person. Calling me a radical communist for researching American history. Which histories should I avoid studying then? All of my sources are from the Library of Congress. Okay, we gotta get in this. Leave a comment and let me know what you think as I'm rolling along here. So when Bob says I am emotionalizing history, what he means is you can include documents and testimonies, but don't let them matter as much as like our national mythology. So you're saying, I study primary sources. I pride myself in sending you to them on your own. I want you to study them on your own. Please do not take my word for it, right? But when I'm on the Library of Congress website or other websites, I'm there to read what people actually wrote, what they experienced. And yes, when you read those documents, you experience emotion. How can you not, right? I've read documents where I just go, man, I love this country so much for the opportunity it has afforded me. But then I read other documents and my heart is broken. It is broken over things that have happened in this country, right? I'm not sure how you were approaching history, which is the story of people, without an emotion. How are you not encountering grief, rage, fear, confusion? But the emotion isn't something that like I'm adding. I don't feel like I'm like emotionalizing the history. That's what the primary sources contain. All right. So when Bob accuses me of emotionalizing, he's really saying present history without the humanity. Give me the dates and statistics, but don't let the testimony of the people who lived through these things matter as much as the philosophical argument that America was perfect. Listen, America wasn't perfect. America's a great country. I would say she is the greatest country, but that does not mean that we are not without flaws. Like I said, I love America so much that I want to make her better. History is emotional because it involves human beings. And human beings have emotion, and we should have empathy for each other, right? I don't want to get into the milder form of slavery thing. To me, this is a red herring, right? This is an argument where he has called me a name and now then attacked me as a person, and now he's over here in the weeds, okay? But what that argument actually does is it puts a ceiling on inquiry. Let me explain. It says, okay, this system he's perceiving as less bad, therefore you don't need to study how it actually worked. Except that's not how understanding works. That's not how educating yourself works. You study the specific system in front of you to understand the specifics of it, right? I study American history. I am so grateful for those who study other countries, world history, current events. That's not my jam. I try not even to read the news. Okay, I'm serious. I really don't. American slavery did have very particular mechanics. It was generational, right? Legally, enslavement passed, oftentimes through the mother. It's racial, right? We had the category black invented to justify it. It involved all kinds of terrible things. Children sold away from their family. I have a story in my family tree. My 7th grandfather, who was enslaved, I had a lot of enslaved ancestors. He was actually born either in Africa or across the Middle Passage. His mom was pregnant with him, something like that. But he wasn't born here. And when he was married to another enslaved woman, they had my 6th grandmother, Rosette, and according to the law, they weren't supposed to break up a family that had a child that was under the age of 14. She was a toddler. Well, guess what they did? They sold him downriver, down New Orleans. And that was it. Never saw him again. Okay, that is literally my family story. There's some emotion to that. There's some emotion. So, well, Bob, I'm not sure what he wants me to do here. He's like, well, I'm glad they didn't cut all his arms and legs off. I guess it wasn't that bad. It's like, that's to me, a bizarre way of looking at this. I think the mechanics of American slavery and the effect that it has on Americans are what make it worth studying. Not to rank it against other systems, because I'm going to tell you, America is my favorite country. I don't want to go. But we need to understand how America built herself. We have some problems we need to address. We have some problems we need to address, right? Bob says there's nothing Christian about the narrative I'm using. Now, before I even dive into that, I just want to let you know, first and foremost, my identity is in Jesus Christ. That is the most important part of my life. I'm pretty vocal about that. And so I am interested in this. I'm interested in this perspective now. I'm assuming he is a Christian, or says he's a Christian. Christianity has said some pretty clear things about telling the truth, right? Proverbs 12:19, truthful lips endure forever, but the lying tongue lasts only a moment. 1 John 1:6, if we claim to have fellowship with him, God, yet we walk in the darkness, we lie, we do not live out the truth. How about Jesus said, truth will set you free, right? These are pretty straightforward. Truth and darkness are diametrically opposed. Now, studying history honestly, actually studying it, not the version that makes me feel good, because trust me, I love America. I want her to be spotless. She's not. I believe that is a Christian perspective to bring that humility. It's saying, I don't get to decide which parts of history matter based on how they make me feel, actually. I actually feel like this is the least emotional response. This should just bring it all to the table, right? And I'm not here as a lawyer to defend America. I'm here as a witness to what happened. That's the difference. I'm not defending this. But what I'm doing is bringing primary sources, reading government documents with you, right? Sending you to them. Please do it. Don't just trust me. When a census document lists someone as mulatto in 1880, and then that person's now black in 1900, that's not my emotional interpretation. That's the government changing how it categorized people. And when I point that out, that's primary source analysis. Bob is calling me a radical communist for researching American history at the Library of Congress. Says I'm deceiving people, it's dividing the country. And I want to be really clear about what's happening here. I'm studying history in a way that does not automatically conclude that America is perfect. And to Bob, that feels dangerous. I want to be really, really clear about this. The only thing that is dividing this country is the demand that we all tell the same story. And we all have the same feelings about it. We all have the same experience. I'm not dividing my country by studying her history. I think you divide the country when you equivocate studying her history with hating America. That is bizarre. That is bizarre. And I want to just take a second to say, I have never one time said one negative thing about any group. I've never been like, white people this or black people that, or never a negative thing. That's not my jam. I would challenge you to find something like that on a video, because you won't. I love being an American, like I told him. I say it often. My entire channel is American history, American identity, right? I am interested in this country specifically because it's my country. It's our story. That's why I'm trying to study it so honestly. I want to understand, and I want to make it better than it was a generation before. And I hope my kids will do the same, make it better than it was the generation before. I don't think a radical communist, here's the thing. I don't even think this was meant specifically. I think it was just trying to throw a slur at me. I don't think someone who hates America spends 40 hours a week looking at archives and census records and things like that. I don't think someone who hates America spends years learning her history. Someone who does that loves America. I love America. Question that I have for this entire conversation is, again, this is what I come back to. What histories am I allowed to talk about? So he's saying, avoid the detailed study of American slavery. Don't look too closely at what happens here. Stop reading testimony from these people. Don't have any emotion when you find out what happened to your family. Avoid understanding how these systems produced what's still going on today. He says, study the part where America ended slavery and celebrate that. But I'm not the one drawing a line around which histories are acceptable to study. Bob, study everything. I'm telling you, study everything. Study the parts that move you, that you're passionate about, but study them honestly. But Bob has drawn a line, and he's upset that I crossed it. The question, I think, Bob, that you should be asking is, why does people studying the full context of your country's history feel threatening? Here's what I think is happening. I think we have a generation of Americans who are taught to love their country in a very specific way. Accept a simplified version of the story. A story where the good parts are emphasized, the complicated parts are minimized or tucked under, made smaller, ranked against other countries' worst parts. I don't feel like you need a metaphor to understand how crazy this is. That way of thinking maybe worked fine until another generation of Americans, my generation, decided we want to study the full story because it doesn't feel like we're getting it. I want to look at the archives for myself. I don't want to just read the 2-paragraph thing in my history textbook. I want to read the documents myself. I want to let people's own words matter as much as the national story. I can love America and study the ways that America has failed. I can be proud of my country and understand and talk about how it was built in specific systems that did benefit some people and hurt other people. I can celebrate progress that we've made. We have made progress, thank God. And I can recognize that progress is not finished yet. These are not contradictions. This is maturity. And let me just say, I just want to point out to Bob, I just shared in my YouTube community posts. If you don't check those out, please, I would love for you to. A bunch of pictures of my family from Louisiana. One of the pictures is my great-grand, my mom's grandmother, and her husband, my great-grandfather, on their wedding day. I have no legal record of their marriage. The laws at the time, you couldn't marry outside your race, and they married outside their race, right? My great-grandfather is Irish, and my great-grandmother was very mixed, but legally census-colored mulatto, sometimes black. So no record exists. This is my mother's grandparents. And man, there's a lot of hurt and pain from that part of the family story. And I can celebrate the progress that now we don't have laws like these miscegenation laws. So Bob, I'm studying American history because I want to understand America, because I love America and I want her to be better. I want the whole story as much as I can get, not just the version that makes us feel good, but the whole thing. And if that feels like a threat to you, maybe the question isn't what history should I avoid? Maybe the question is, why does the truth feel so threatening? Thank you so much for being with me, and we'll talk soon.